What is going on, Pirates fans? Jim Rosati, Northside Notch. With me on today's postgame show is Connor Williams. First postgame show. So first off, welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the NS9 Postgame Show, Connor.
Oh, I'm so thrilled.
How was the first Pirates game of the year?
My first reaction is going to sound very cynical, but I think I've seen enough Dwayne Underwood Jr. to last me a lifetime. Even like nothing else about this game made me mad except having to watch Dwayne Underwood Jr.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I think it's the first game of spring training, right? Pirates lose, by the way, 9-7 to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think there was some good that happened today. There was some bad that happened today. And definitely the bad is the guys who you're kind of looking to anchor this bullpen, or at least maybe not anchor it, but stabilize it at least. It wasn't a good game for them overall.
Yeah,
not a good game for the bullpen. Again, game one, so I'm not really reading much into this particular performance. But you had David Bednar, did not look good. We saw our first look at Harleen Garcia, did not look good.
Is it Harleen?
Harleen.
That's how he
Garcia.
prefers it pronounced. Yeah. All right.
And then Dwayne Underwood Jr. again, not helped out by his defense, but didn't really do himself any favors either. But let's start off with some good stuff, right? Mitch Keller got the start today.
Mitch Keller looked good.
I thought he looked great. He pitched 2 innings, gave up 1 hit, no walks, struck out 2. I'm going to try to do this and see if it works all right on the stream. This is our first time trying this on a post-game show. So we are going to see if we can actually get some highlights going for you guys. So
excuse me.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, sorry. That was my allergic reaction to Dwayne Underwood Jr.
So just some quick Mitch Keller highlights.
Speaking of, I know we're talking about Mitch Keller right now, but while we're at it, speaking of pitchers, I was really impressed by Kikuchi. I didn't really get to watch much of him last year, but that the combination he has of that changeup and the slider, they're both very similar speeds but have very different movements. I was pretty impressed, or at least Pirates hitters looked pretty confused by it.
Yeah, we'll hit on that later. Let's talk about Keller. So those were Keller's 2 strikeouts. Started the game off with a strikeout, ended the first inning with another strikeout, and had a double play ball. Yeah, looked great. I think I think the thing that I most noticed with Keller today was attacking the zone. He was starting off with strike 1. He was getting ahead of hitters. And when you get ahead of major league hitters, it makes it harder for them to do their job. So I don't think you could have asked for much more out of a Mitch Keller first look in spring training.
No, I mean I think you're right. He attacked the zone. He got hitters out. He induced some soft contact here and there. I mean, it's a first spring training start. It's not going to impact anything one way or the other, really, but it's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So he got the start for the Pirates. Kikuchi, like you mentioned before, started for the Blue Jays, and he kept the Pirates in check too. He struck out 5 in his 2 innings of work. And that's kind of a, if we're going to talk about one really, the Pirates scored 7 runs today, but if we're going to knock on them for anything offensively, they struck out 16 times.
Yeah, they were really baffled by Kikuchi's off-speed stuff, which he throws often, and he'll pitch backwards. He's pretty deceptive guy.
Yeah. Every single Blue Jays pitcher, they used 9 of them today. Our old friend Zach Thompson couldn't get out of his inning, so they had to use an extra pitcher today. But every single one of them registered at least 1 strikeout. And yeah, it wasn't a great game overall for if you like making contact and putting balls in play, which I think we're all looking forward to hopefully more of that with the new shift rules. Today we didn't see that. Again, 20 out of the 27 outs, 16 of them were strikeouts by the Pirates. But I think the highlight offensively, I mean, we'll start off with Castro. So starting in that 3rd inning that Zach Thompson took over for the Blue Jays, Thompson walked Connor Joe. He walked G1 Bay.
Right.
O'Neal Cruz singled on, a flare to left field that loaded the bases.
Yep.
And that brought Rodolfo Castro up to the plate. And Castro takes one deep for the grand slam. Absolutely smashed it. And it's kind of fun to do it off of Zach Thompson.
I mean, a little bit. I don't really care.
I think it was interesting seeing. I mean, Zach Thompson really struggled. And then, I brought it up during the game. Like, I'm looking forward to not having that guy pitch for us this year.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And to give the benefit of the doubt a little bit to everybody who pitched today and who didn't look great, I mean, it does. I mean, they mentioned it in the broadcast. It does take a little longer for the pitchers to get ready and back into the swing of things than it does the hitters. So that's why the pitchers and catchers report earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So
on top of that, it's really the first game a lot of these guys have had to pitch competitively with a clock, like with a timer.
Yeah, that's another thing I'd almost completely forgotten.
We haven't really mentioned that, but that's another thing about this game. I mean, this game ended in about 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is longer.
Awesome.
Longer than the games it took yesterday. But again, we had 16 runs scored today. We had 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We had 17 pitchers used and 36 position players used. So we're talking about a spring training game that normally takes pretty long because of all of those things I just mentioned. It finished under 3 hours and there were 16 runs scored. So what are your quick thoughts on the pitch clock?
So in terms of at least like what MLB was trying to accomplish with it, I think it's going to be a total success. I think maybe we'll see games get stretched out a little bit longer once we get into the regular season. I don't think they'll be quite as fast as what we're seeing in spring training, but like it's very obvious there is like a significant increase in pace, decrease in game times, and like who has 3 hours, like who has 3.5 hours a day to go watch like Dwayne Underwood Jr. pitch?
I don't.
Exactly. So cutting that down is important. I used to be really vehemently against it, and then I watched it without realizing I was watching it in person, and I went, wow, okay, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that it's here now. So
yeah. And it's something where I think, since it's new for a lot of people, it's, there's a little bit of like shock and awe to it right off the bat. I think once you watch maybe a week or 2 weeks worth of games, it won't even register in your mind that there really is a pitch clock.
Right.
Like we're not going to see pitchers, have automatic balls. We're not going to see hitters have automatic strikes. They're going to get used to it and know how to adapt to it. All that we'll notice as fans is that the game is going to be moving along quicker. It's going to be more fast paced. And at the end of the game, when we're used to sitting through a 3+ hour game of baseball and we look at the clock, it's going to read that it only took 2.5 hours. Like that's kind of what's going to happen. And if you've been watching minor league games over the last couple of years, it just
because all the players that
flows.
are most of the
Yeah.
players that are coming to the majors or are already here have at least
Mhm.
had minor experiences with the pitch clock, not literally
Yeah.
in terms of minor leagues, but like have had some time, maybe it's a rehab stint or whatever, that they've
Yeah.
had an experience playing with a pitch clock. So at this point, it's really only the older players who haven't really experienced, and this is a totally new, thing to them. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to really impact the players as much as people may think.
I agree with you. Again, they've been doing this in the minors for a while. So anybody who's played in the minors over the last 2 or 3 years knows what this is like. Yeah, it may take a little bit longer for the veterans to get used to it, but they're veterans because they know how to adapt.
Exactly.
So
You don't stay
yeah.
in the major leagues for long if you can't adapt to things.
Yep. So I don't really see this being an issue for anyone. Like I said, it may
Maybe
take
only for like the extreme outliers we saw where it's like you're taking like a full minute in between pitches. Maybe for those guys coming out of the pen, it can be an issue. But I mean, those are really the extreme cases.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about it. We got our first look at it yesterday. I watched that Mariners Padres game, and yeah, it was a lot more enjoyable. Like, I mean, just there's no beating around the bush. It's a more enjoyable product,
right?
Because there's less just standing around, walking around, and doing nothing.
And for people worried about it, Passan tweeted about this earlier, and I was wondering about this myself actually. That the timer in actual regular season games, the timer won't be visible from the center field camera. So don't worry, we'll still have the "He Gets Us" ads behind home plate and "Jesus Forgives Errors." Those will still be there. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah. He gets us. So no, that was one of my complaints, honestly. Like right in the first inning, I was like, why are we zoomed out so far? So that we have to because they zoomed out that camera pretty far today.
It's spring training for camera people too.
Yeah, they need to go back to the way it was.
Well, that's actually kind of funny because in Bradenton, it can be hard to tell like when somebody hits something, what's gone and what's not, because of both the wind and like the camera work isn't up to par with like a major league game.
Yeah.
So like there were a couple like the Henry Davis hit and then the subsequent Andy Rodriguez hit where I thought both of those were like going to be way closer to being home runs than they were.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean it was fun to see baseball though. Like, I mean, we've been waiting for months and months and months. We actually had an off season that we have something to sort of look forward to this year. We got to see Andrew McCutchen, bat in a Pirates uniform again. He didn't really do anything today, but again, it's nice to see him back in the lineup. As far as the other hitters go, there's Connor Joe had a pretty decent showing at the plate. He kind of
walked 2 times, right?
Walked 2 times, saw a bunch of pitches. So that was a pretty decent performance there. We'll get into the substitutes. I think the only one really I want to mention who did well, like Liover Peguero, had a really, really solid game coming in for Cruz at shortstop. He ended up going 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs. And actually, let's just take a look at these real quick. So Peguero, 2 hits, both of them just laced also.
Yeah, no, they were very hard hit.
First hit was 107.4 miles per hour. This is it right here. Also brought in a run to make it 6-5 in the 6th. And some good piece of base running.
Yeah, good run. Yeah, I actually forgotten about that. That was some good base running.
And then again, he came up with some guys on base in his next at bat.
And this was the line drive to center, I believe.
Yep. 104 miles an hour off the bat. So, yeah, Peguero 2 for 2. He gets the second on this one, too, with that misplay in center field. So, yeah, I mean, you like to see it from Peguero. He kind of took a little bit of a hit in prospect rankings this past season.
I mean, it was deserved.
Yeah, it was deserved.
I don't think anybody would argue that it was deserved. Same with like Nick Gonzalez. Both of those guys I mean, they have something to prove this year.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really rough second half in Altoona. So yeah, you look for Peguero to hopefully take a step forward this year. He is still really young, so it's not
right.
Like I wouldn't give up on him just yet.
No,
He's very young. He's got time to figure it out. Anthony does say he did make a pretty bad throw in the field.
I wanted to get to that at some point. Some of the defense we saw today was very spring training defense. Very like players not playing in the position. Like Andujar didn't make an error, but the way he fielded the one hopper to him like looked terrible. Joe
between Andujar in left and Cal Mitchell in right. Those two.
Well, Joe probably isn't a good defender in the outfield either, and he made a misplay too. And I mean, a lot of this is also like there never isn't wind in Bradenton, and it's always changing. So especially for outfielders, it can be like really, really hard to judge any sort of fly ball or line drive that's hit towards you. I mean, it's spring training, you should be giving benefit of the doubt or whenever you can, really. But there were some things that didn't look good. That you're not playing in the position you're used to at the very least.
Yeah, I would say in particular the corner outfielders looked bad.
Yeah.
Like I said, Gonzalez looked good at third, made a couple really nifty plays.
So did Rodolfo made a really nice play at third. But I mean,
Castro made a good play, and Santana made a nice play on the other end too at first base. So there was some, like I said, there was some good, but there was some bad too. But yeah, Andujar, Mitchell, Joe, not great out there. And I think Endy probably could have had that throw home from Peguero, but
he didn't move his feet. I don't know if he would have gotten the runner, but he did need to like move his feet a little bit more and have gotten that throw.
Speaking of Endy, his first action went 0 for 3, but he did hit the ball hard at least one time.
Right.
So I
that
hope
was in
that
his
he gets
second at bat.
Yeah, second at bat.
Right.
But I hope he gets a lot of playing time this spring. I have a feeling they'll actually cut him kind of early to give like the other catchers more of a battle for that
right,
opening
because
day spot.
there is an actual question on who the actual backup is going to be, and we all know that's not going to be Endy.
Right. So as much as we want to see Endy come north with the club, he's not going to. As much as we want to see Endy in spring training, the other guys are going to have to fight it out.
Right. At some point, they have to give those at bats to Heineman and Jason DeLay. And who's the third guy they brought in?
Kevin Plawecki.
Plawecki, that's right, the Red Sox guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get to see a lot of those guys.
Shame on me for forgetting such a enticing name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you could forget a signing like Kevin Plawecki. So,
I'm just a fake fan.
Yeah, integral part of this team's future. How about Henry Davis? We got a good look at him too. First pitch, hit by pitch.
What was it? Mackey's tweet: Henry the Magnet Davis.
Yes. So Henry Davis, first.
Incredible.
Yeah. Henry Davis, first pitch he sees, hits him. That's just, I mean, it's just on brand for him.
Very.
And then he sees he only saw 2 pitches, the hit by pitch, and then he got a sacrifice fly in his second plate appearance. So
that was the one that off the bat I thought was gone off the bat.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit under it.
Yeah,
he made some decent contact with it. So I think Davis, though, is somebody that we may see a little bit more of, just to get him some at bats. I could see that maybe at DH, not necessarily catching.
Right.
Anybody else in particular offensively you want to get into before we kind of dive into this bullpen?
Smith and Jigba got hit by a pitch, struck out. Who else?
He also drew a walk too.
He also drew. Of course, he did.
Yeah, got on base.
It's his thing. It's what he does.
Yep. Yeah, Santana got on base twice. He drew a walk and got a hit. So again, it was. Some people had decent days. Let's say Cruz got on the board with a hit. It wasn't a laser beam by any means. But,
no, I think I tweeted out immediately like cruise missile.
Yeah, I think it was. Let's get the. exit velo on Cruz's single was
man.
66.8
Ooh,
miles per hour. So
man,
yeah,
blistered it.
not his hardest hit, but it counts as a hit.
That's about as far as you could get from his hardest hit.
Yeah. So after Keller, though, like I said, we talked about Keller, did great. Contreras comes in. Other than that misplay by Connor Joe, which kind of set that inning up,
which turned like a single into a triple.
Yeah, it did. So the single turned into a triple, which then turned into a run. That was the only hit he gave up.
I missed how the run scored. Did it score via sac fly?
Sac fly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was away from the TV at the moment.
So not a bad inning from him. They were mentioning on the broadcast that, he's a guy that they're looking to kind of get ready a little bit quicker since he's going to be going to the World Baseball Classic. So he got in there today. I do want to talk about Bednar. So, I mean, this is Vladdy. So, an elite hitter. But Bednar didn't look great. So Bednar, first off, I think the first hitter he had, he walked. This is in the fourth inning. Yeah, so he walked Santiago Espinal, but then he gives up a nuke to Vladimir Guerrero. There's no sound on that, but Guerrero hits it onto the boardwalk up there. Not a great pitch there. And then later that inning, another home run given up by Bednar. Let's show that real quick. I need to get a little bit quicker at this if we're going to do this every show. We'll figure out a better way to do this, but this is to Addison Barger, and he just destroys it.
It was pretty.
So
nice video frame rate, by the way.
Is it? Or is it terrible?
Yeah, it's like 2 frames a second.
Is it awful? All right. We'll figure something out. As it's spring training for us too. Yeah, so are you concerned about Bednar, or are we just chalking this up?
No, I'm not. I'm not really concerned about any of the pitchers except the guys that I already know aren't going to be very good.
Okay.
I mean, that's it. We mentioned it earlier. It takes those guys a little longer to really get into the swing of things. It's why they're there earlier. If Bednar's still looking like this, a couple outings from now, and if he's still looking like this closer to approaching the season, yeah, okay, maybe worry a little bit. Yeah. But am I worried now? No. It's game 1 of spring training. I'm not.
Yeah, worried. It is game 1. Something to watch. And again, it's game 1, so you got to imagine arm strength is going to get built up. But
right, exactly.
Fastball velocity was down.
Yeah, I noticed that a little bit. I think he hit like 95, 96 a couple times, but he never really touched those upper velocities that he can reach, like 97, 98. Maybe they're taking it easy. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Yeah,
so like I said, I wouldn't be too concerned about it right now. It's first spring training outing, but yeah, fastball velocity was a little down from last year. Harleen Garcia, first look at him, also gave up a nuke to Santiago Espinal. His velocity also down. Again, spring training first game, but his velocity was down 2 miles per hour since last year.
Well, I've been
impressions on Garcia? Yeah.
Well, I'm a little biased because I've been very vocal about not being a Yarlin Garcia guy. Yeah, that was also Bednar's location wasn't good.
Yeah.
He was leaving it pretty much center cut. I am not a big Yarlin Garcia guy. I don't like his mix. He really kind of has like the 1, maybe 2 pitches. He relies on the fastball a lot. I'm not a big believer in Yarlin Garcia, and he spent the last 2 years doing all right in a really friendly park for pitchers. And it's scary to me that he's rolling into the season potentially being the only left-handed guy in the bullpen. And the other guy might be a Rule 5 draft pick. Who's going to get hit, and if that guy does make the major league roster, he's going to be hidden and he isn't going to pitch much. He's not going to be pitching in any, like, if they need a lefty to come in to win them a game, it's going to, what was that?
Might just be clicking my mouse. I don't know. What?
Oh, okay. No, that was on my. There was a sound that came through on my end.
I don't
Sorry.
know what you're talking about. No,
Yeah.
I think if you were gonna have like the biggest concern about this bullpen right now, it's the lefties. You're basically rolling with Garcia and Hernandez as the only lefty relievers on the 40-man roster. And I would guess they try to hide Hernandez on that 26 man, at least
Yeah,
to
I think
start off
because
the
he
year.
is the Rule 5 guy, and to keep him, you
Yeah.
have to keep him on the roster. I think that probably gives him an edge over some other guys
And I think
making the
if you
team. But
I think probably the easiest person to hide is a number 2 lefty reliever.
yeah, it is.
So I see him maybe getting a spot there. But yeah, I mean Garcia is going to be the main guy, when it
And
comes to
that should
lefties.
scare you, in my opinion, because I don't like Garcia.
Yeah, I guess with me, it's one of those. I'm cautious with him, but until you still can't argue with that, he hasn't been bad. Like the result, the actual
the
results
actual
haven't
results
been bad.
have been like not terrible.
Right. They haven't
He
been
has
bad.
been decently reliable.
Yeah. So until he shows me that he's bad, I'm going to at least give him the benefit of the doubt.
I think that's an extremely fair assessment.
Yeah. But didn't look good today. But again, first outing of spring training.
Right.
The one reliever who's probably going to be on this roster who did look okay was Chase DeYoung. Again, just somehow got the job done, just being Chase DeYoung.
And I mean, sometimes, I think we mentioned this before, sometimes there are just guys like Chase DeYoung who like none of the peripherals line up. None of this stuff looks amazing. None of like absolutely nothing is lining up in their favor. And then they go out there and they just kind of get the job done.
And what's weird is like you can, as a reliever, your sample size is small enough that you can just put together good years.
Like, yeah, you can put together really good years.
Yeah.
It's why most of the reason why relievers are so volatile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you look at somebody like Jesse Chavez. Dude's been in the majors for 15 years. There's nothing that he does that jumps out at you. But yeah, and maybe Chase DeYoung's just that guy who doesn't impress you really in any way. But when you look at his final numbers, he somehow gets it done. So, but he pitched a scoreless inning today. Really the only Pirate who is going to be on this roster who did so outside of Keller. Zastrizny and Zamora came in to finish off the game. I'm not really paying much attention to those guys.
All right. Though. Jim, do I draft Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Sandy Alcantara?
Vladdy. I would always go hitter over pitcher. But that's me.
Yeah, sorry. I had like 30 seconds.
Connor's in the middle of a fantasy draft while he's live on
because
air.
Vinny decided that he wanted to schedule it right in the middle of when we were doing this. So
yeah, terrible.
Terrible.
Well, who'd you go with?
I went with Vladdy.
Okay. Well, I mean that's all really I have to talk about today. I said 9-7, Pirates lose. They're off tomorrow. Back in action on Monday.
I believe so, against
Philadelphia.
Yeah. It's not at Toronto. I don't know when at Toronto happens. Does AT&T cover the away spring games? I don't even know.
No, so AT&T is only going to be covering the home. The AT&T broadcast crew is only going to be at home. I know they are showing a couple broadcast crew.
There you go.
As long as they exist. So it's a whole other topic for another day. Yeah. But yeah, every home spring training game will be on AT&T Sportsnet. The away games, most of them will be on MLB.TV, I would imagine. So should be able to watch the majority of the games. But yeah, Pirates lose 9-7. First spring training game. Rodolfo Castro grand slam. Mitch Keller looked great. I think those are the two big positives to take out of it. You have anything to add before we roll out of here?
Yeah, I think we should talk about our new sponsor.
We don't have a new sponsor.
Yeah, we do. It's Steak on a Stone, obviously.
All right, guys.
They must have run that damn ad like 7 times. If they are going to run that ad as frequently as they did during this game for the rest of the season, it's going to be the new Rally House ad.
So the difference is I don't get that feed. So I didn't see any of this.
Oh,
so this
so
is
you
you're
didn't see it?
talking.
Okay.
So you're MLB.TV doesn't show the commercials.
Right. Yeah.
It just shows like the baseball Zen stuff. So I don't really know what you're talking about, to be honest.
It's pretty funny. I know somebody has it screen recorded. I'll have to see if they posted it somewhere, and I'll download and I'll send it to you.
There we go.
But yeah, it's
not, I mean, if they want to pay us,
they seriously they seriously ran the ad like 8 times, and it's got Neil Walker. It's Neil Walker talking about how great Steak on a Stone is.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, maybe Neil can throw them over and they can sponsor our show. Maybe they can be our new sponsor.
Hey, Neil, you have connections to Steak on a Stone. Hit us up.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Anything else before we hop out?
No.
Cool.
All right.
Well,
peace.
Guys, thanks for watching. Pirates lose. We'll be back at it on Monday.
Let's go, baby. Pirates lose.
See you guys.
See ya.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.